to create or to adapt the Undercroft bar during the day to be a cafe as well, to provide a welcoming and sort of warm and lovely social space for college, which we do have a JCR, but it's not very big and it's often quite cluttered. So I think it'd be really, really lovely to have a social space which is open, which is not the library, which everybody can go to. The goal would be to sell coffees which are cheaper than Yum, that won't be too difficult, and hopefully cheaper than many in the town. I mean, that's obviously that will change if actually it turns out it's more expensive. We find out that's all negotiable. I mean, it can go as far as we want, really. Like, I was thinking, for example, you could get second years involved who are living out to bake things. They could bring them in and we could sell them on. As an idea, all the fruit that's currently on display for breakfast, we could just have, take a few bowls downstairs as well. You could also, what's the other idea? Get in contact, build links to local businesses, local bakers, and source local sort of snacks and treats. Simon calls them treats, which I find really bizarre. I can't, but local snacks to sell them as well. You'd have one person manning it the whole time, and that would be obviously sort of minimum wage, and it would cost about £300 a week in terms of salary. I did sort of do this in France, but I wasn't involved in the buying of the stuff like the coffee and things. So I don't actually know what that would come to per week. Basically, I think that the whole thing, the startup costs would be not huge, but like there'd be startup costs because you have to buy the equipment, you have to find a place to store and everything. But after that, it would sort of hopefully run itself, and hopefully, if it became a success, and next year, if it was just like a thing that people did was after lunch, a few people go down and have a coffee, and if you can imagine like different execs, rather than meeting on the normal gallery, or like companies, whatever, or, student societies, they go to the Undie for a drink of coffee, and so you could, if you in your mind's eye, if you will. The ideal would be at some point next year you'd sort it down, there'd be 1 or 2 people having a coffee after lunch just with their friends. You'd have maybe a group having a meeting, you'd have maybe somebody doing an interview in another corner. You'd have student-made and locally made treats on sales and coffees as well. And we'd also do like a takeaway service, because obviously lots of people will have to go back to the science site, they won't be able to hang around. So I think that'd be quite a nice way of, you can come downstairs, grab a coffee and go. One option, these are all just options, because the Undie is such a great space, it's so versatile. These don't have none of these. All these I'm just pitching sort of everything I've thought of. Something you could do to ensure a supply of customers would be to direct the tours after the tours to say, if you like, you can have a coffee in our cafe, and that would, I think you definitely get people going, oh, that's a nice idea. So one of the problems with it is that the Undie is clearly a bar. It's quite a bare space. It's quite smells of old beer. It's a very good bar, but. So you would have to, to some extent, transform it in the day into a cafe, to a nice welcoming space. So I've had a look into things like sun jars and tea lights, rechargeable tea lights, and tablecloths. You could get really nice like cardinal and white tablecloths, that sort of thing, and all cardinal mugs. You can make it quite quite a proper like castle cafe. I also thought, this is extending the remit a little, and this would obviously only go ahead if the bar are interested as well. But to make it a little bit more nice, have you seen the Keep? How before the refurb, the Keep was just like white walls. It looked like a prison, really. And the Undies, although it's lovely, is quite bare. It doesn't have a lot on the walls or anything. So I don't know how possible this is, but it'd be great to put like the Keep has put sort of pictures of college sports teams and things. I even had an idea you could have a big board and try and get every club to submit their tie with a little description of what every tie does. But basically make it feel a lot more castle-y, because at the Undie at the moment it's really lovely, but you wouldn't necessarily know that was in Castle. Whereas if you're going to Hatfield Bar or Chad's or John's, this stuff all over the walls, and it's really quite lovely. So yeah, it'd be other things other little things, like at the moment we get all the papers delivered, but nobody reads them because the West Courtyard is quite drafty and quite, it's quite an unforgiving space. So there'd be a place for the papers to be put, and people could go down and have a coffee, read the paper. It'd be nice. We can move some of the bean bags in as well. And this is all stuff that somebody whoever was setting it up would come 15-20 minutes before, put the stuff out, and then when sort of setting it down for the night for the bar, just take everything down again. So it'd easily be transformed into the bar during the night. The only big cost would be it's sort of how big do you want to go? Most coffee machines are about, I've had a look, and sort of good ones, proper ones, would be between about 1,200 and 1,500. They can be cheaper, it doesn't really matter. So I think the startup cost would be maybe 2,000-3,000 but a lot of that is just decor. How nice do you want the cheapest mugs? You can get it for 36 mugs for 36 quid. You can spend a bit more and get some nice patterned ones for a few more quid. It's completely up to whoever be designing it. And although I'd be very interested in doing it, I'm not the greatest designer in the world. I'd be very interested to have a team doing it. But that's the sort of utopic ideal at the end of this. We'd have a social space for all of college to enjoy. It would cost about £200 a week. It would hopefully break even if it's well run. and it's another opportunity, obviously, for students to work, because you need a proper team of people doing it. I think it's something people would genuinely be interested in doing. Like, you get so many applications for bar anyway. I think this would be something people would genuinely like to do. But yeah, I think I've mentioned everything. But yeah, that's sort of it. That's the idea.
What opening hours would you envisage?
Sorry.
What opening hours would you envisage?
I had a think, and this is changeable if we find out that nobody comes at certain times or whatever. I was thinking 10 till 5. So to get people late morning who've just perhaps missed breakfast, get the lunch, pre and after lunch, and just through the afternoon. Yeah. But I could envisage that being cut down. If you found that nobody came at 10, you could easily just do 12 till 5. Yeah. That wouldn't be a problem. And Wednesday afternoon you wouldn't, because Roe was going there on Wednesday afternoon, is that right?
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. I think that's right. And that's not a problem at all. So that'd be that, and aerobics and things like that. So it wouldn't be open the weekend, it'd be just through the week. It'd be advertised to all students, I think. I mean, you couldn't do it to locals just because of people coming in and out. I think also because this music department, theology department, lots of things are up at the Bailey, so I think you would hopefully get a fair number of people coming in and out from that as well. As in, at the moment, if you want to go for a coffee in Palace Green, you can't really, because there's a university run one that's really expensive, and it's not particularly nice. And then, so this could, be a very nice different option for people who wanted to do that. And also, like as I said, like if you wanted to do it, you could open it to tours when they come around, and that I think you'd rake it in from that. I think that's the sort of thing they love. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is a lot of this is just like things that I've come up with. It doesn't have to be this. Like if we found out that things are not practical, it's easy to change them because it's a versatile space. I'm not proposing like changing the nature of the undie at all. It's just at the moment it's not used in the afternoon. And it'd be really nice to. I see no reason why you couldn't. I mean, you'd have to like negotiate with the bar about certain things, like the coffee machine probably would have to go somewhere. So we get a small one. It's not the end of the world. And we'd have to find spaces to put. I mean, there's not a lot involved really. You'd have to find spaces to put, the mugs and things. And apart from that, like, sort of.
Presumably it would be separate to the bar.
I think so. Yeah, I think that makes.
So then we need things like dishwasher, water mains coming in, electricity mains. That.
You could probably use it under dish, glass wash and everything.
Yeah, I should have really asked you about this, but like, how would that work? Would that be a problem? Would they just...
It'd be fine. It'd just be. I think that then the coffee bar would be unmanned. Because if you had the coffee bar, say in the corner by the girls' toilets,
yeah,
that's the kind of place I'd envisage it being. If you had it there, and then whoever was working would have to collect mugs, go into the bar, use the dishwasher in the bar, and then go back.
I mean, would it be possible, just as an idea, would it be possible to move the coffee machine, just put it on the counter, and then
behind the bar?
just
Yeah,
and I was thinking if you had it, so did I. Yeah, if you had it behind the bar, I mean, you'd have to move a few things around, but it could also mean that you could sell coffee throughout the night as well. If that's something that I was interested in.
Yeah, potential.
I think space is the
Is space at premium? Is that the issue?
Space will be an issue, and storage. The other thing is people would definitely need to be trained to do that.
Yeah.
So I know you're talking about bringing in homemade cakes and everything.
I
know it's a fantastic idea, but I don't know the feasibility of that because college won't even let Ents hand out food at Ents.
Really?
The barbecue at Beer Fest that had to be done by college office by trained people. So we'd have to get training.
Simon and I spoke to Michelle about this in college office, and she said it will be feasible. Like even if they're making toasties and stuff, as long as they've got sort of food hygiene training levels 1 and 2, which would be reasonable if you're doing.
The only thing is you wouldn't. With getting people from home to bring in cakes and stuff, if you're selling them commercially, if anyone gets onto it, basically every home that bakes has to be hygiene checked.
Oh.
That's the only problem I can see with selling the cakes. Just because I know if you're selling things for profit.
We don't have to. I mean, we don't have to sell it.
You can buy stuff in.
You can buy it, so buying in with them.
Yeah, just one thing. Presumably we'd need to introduce another role. So we have toasty bar manager. We'd have coffee bar manager, and that would probably. Where would you see that fitting into like the existing framework that we have? Would that come under bar's remit, or would it go into services like toasty bar?
It sounds. It's bizarre, isn't it? It sort of hovers between the two, doesn't it? Just because it's using the bar, it would probably be more with the bar because it's the same space, but it does a different thing. I don't know. That's wherever it fits easiest.
I think I'd manage it working more like the toasty bar because the money would end up coming through me. And so Toasty Bar usually liaise with either me or I don't know, do they liaise with you?
not that much, but they
So-
can do.
Yeah, I think it would end
but
up
then if
being-
they-
It could
you're
be tagged
using
on
some
as
of
an
the same-
extension for the bar though. I mean, we
Yeah.
have a lot of the equipment that you need already, so as we say, we've got
Yeah.
a dishwash, we've got tills, we've got
The only issue would be
space.
would then be keeping the cash separate from, so it doesn't have to go through Rachel. Would it still go through Rachel, or would it just come straight to Becca?
We can use.
You know, issue with that.
If it goes to a bar, it would go to Rachel. If
Yeah.
it goes through me, it would
That's more how we combine the two if we do it. If that makes sense.
But those sorts of issues can be ironed out.
yeah, it can be fine.
Yeah. It'd be different as well if you carried on serving coffee throughout the night, as you just said. Because if you did say 10 till 5, then you could have money for coffee is
Yeah.
separate and then money for bar separate.
If you could cash up at the end of that.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then you could have you could have a float, so like a till float for coffee.
Exactly.
And then all the money would be totally separate.
That's what we did. That's what I did in France. I had to mark down everything we sold.
Yeah.
Because it didn't have a proper till. Just had it was. That was fun.
No, we'll be able to do that with the tills.
I think the main issue is the infrastructure, like actually getting in a coffee machine where it would fit. So whether it's a case of extending the bar by a metre and using that space to get a coffee machine on the back and then some storage for mugs.
I envisaged it being behind the bar, but I mean, whatever's easiest is the best thing.
I think to get a decent sized coffee machine in, we probably need to redesign how the bar is. I think that'd be quite a big uphaul if it was something that was staying there permanently.
Yeah, the other potential thing is like in the middle where the spirits are.
Yeah,
You
but
leave those spirits somewhere, but
You need the spirits there.
yeah.
But yeah, they're all practicalities.
So how much money? So there's £20,000 is available. How much money of that would you be pitching for in total?
That's the thing. Like, on the base level, if you're just gonna like, if you're thinking just add a coffee machine and a few pictures in it, then it'd be nice. It would be coffee machines £1,500, about £2,000, 2,000 to 3,000, more towards 2,000. If you wanted to go all out, and like properly like put things on the walls, like which would, I mean, I imagine that would benefit the bar as well. I mean, that's the idea, and really make it quite lovely. You could spend another 2,000, I think. So I imagine it'd be something like, let's add on another 1,000 just because we don't know what hidden costs there might be. So something like 4,000 I think would be good enough to just set it up. Because the thing, what I'm worried about is it might not be a good idea to just sort of go half-assed and be like try and do it minimalistic, because then people will just see it. Do you know what I mean? Like, like just a coffee bar or something. If it's going to be good, it has to be like this.
What
is
I
now a
think
cafe.
if we go ahead with this should tag onto the bar and effectively change the bar into open all hours kind of service. So 10 till 5, we those
I
hours
see what you
we,
mean,
we
yeah.
can legally serve alcohol in that as well. So it would make sense if we had the bar open that we could use all the stock that we currently have and sell that as normal, and then have the coffee as well, but just in the day. Because coffee in the night
I see what
out
you mean, yeah.
is quite dangerous, especially around drunk people, and it's more sociable. We could, if we're going to do this, we could potentially trial it this summer. You know how we have the bar open in the day in the summer.
Yeah, exactly.
We could trial it then. That's probably the most feasible implementation period, and then see how it goes from there.
Yeah.
Does
I
that then
think-
mean though that you have to use bar staff for the coffee? Because I personally think it should be different.
You think it should be?
Coffee
I think it should be
there
different.
should be the coffee shop staff, and then there should be
We
the
should
bar
open it up
staff.
because it's a college thing. We should open it up so that it gives
Yeah.
more people an opportunity.
I think people would want to get involved and be like, now we have this, and a lot of different sort of type of people would do it. I think it's quite interesting.
Yeah, I'm just thinking from a business point of view, I think it's a bit of a shame if you have the whole bar open, everything's there, but you can only have coffee.
Also, people still want things like fruit juices.
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
fruit juice.
Oh yeah, no, we
Okay,
can definitely do
okay,
stuff like that. Yeah.
But in that case, one thing about the finances, that means the finances would have to be merged. That's not a bad thing.
No,
And that would be
All the money comes back
Yeah.
to JCR anyway. From
Would the idea be for this to make a profit, or would it be to use the profit to subsidise it as much as possible? Just
So
it's
similar to the
it's really got a
downstairs
minimum
knowledge.
cost where you're just getting enough turnover to make any changes.
Yeah, I think it'd be very good for it to pay its way. The last thing, I think the advantage of it is it's not too expensive, as well as you could trial it, and because I know the Toasty Bar has only just started breaking even. Is that right? Or broke even for the first time last year. Is that?
Yeah.
Last term.
Last term. So it takes a while for people to find the right balance of how to run things. So you could do it for a few years and then make a loss, but then still pay out and you wouldn't have lost too much. Like, I think it's a good enough idea worth going for. And then if it fails, hey, it's not like we've invested £20,000 on something which is which you never get back. The point is, I don't think it's a white elephant.
And it's a philosophy that the JCR is there to provide a service. It doesn't, if you're providing that service to the JCR members, it doesn't really matter if you break in even or not, as long as you're not.
It's a lot of it will depend on if this happened. So let's say it all happens, it's all very well, the trial goes very well, fantastic. Setting the sort of example at the beginning of next term of like, this is what people do. Because freshies lap up, whatever, whatever they see, they assume it's just been done forever. I realised this is being filmed. But you could, it's very gullible, so if they arrive and they think, this is what people do, they go and have a coffee afterwards, then they'll start doing it, and it just perpetuates itself.
Oh yeah, from the start, Freshers Week would be brilliant.
Yeah.
Right from the first day, we have the meal with the parents. First thing you do for the meal will be go down and have a coffee, and that sets the tone for the rest of the year.
Definitely. That's the perfect way of doing it. Yeah.
Also, there's lots of ifs, but actually I was thinking, with exams, this could be unbelievably useful for a revision period.
Yeah, I didn't mention that actually, but yeah,
because you make a killing, you make so much money, and also everyone would enjoy it because it's going to help them.
Yeah,
the issue with that is how do you get staff?
Yeah,
I don't think anyone would be keen to do
You could open it up to postgrads as well, because postgrads have their exam later on. I mean, I'll be a postgrad next year, and I'd be interested in working on it. Well, yeah, obviously. I mean, so that's something that's a way of getting around that.
And also, you can sit there and read if you're working.
Yeah.
Or you could do 10 till 1:30, 1:30.
Yeah, it can be split up into two.
Yeah, those are all things that can be.
Yeah, the minor details.
What out of interest, because obviously bar. What would your thoughts be on the sort of design ideas for the bar? Because that's why I think the problem
this is something that is a bit annoying, really, because we look. So the area. So it's the two entrances to the bar from the courtyard. The left-hand side through that small door, down the steps. Just outside there, there's that white room just before you get down the steps into the. We wanted to get the pub maps of Durham.
Oh yeah.
On there. And we got told that we'd need planning permission to do that. So it is.
It's a job.
Yeah, it's something that will take a lot of time to do. We tried to chase it up, and then it just took too long. So we stopped chasing it up really. But I agree. It's definitely something that we should be doing, because as you say, other college bars look really nice, and obviously the Undie has a certain appeal. But like that idea about the sports ties, I think would be really fantastic.
I think
and getting stuff on the walls as much as we can. I would love to do that. It's just whether or not, because we've got all these hoops we have to jump through with planning permission, we'll be able to get them done.
I brought that up just to address the fundamental problem, which is you can imagine people going down there and the point where I think you might need to spend a little bit of money to make it nice. It's just because what you don't want is people being like, oh, it's just the Undie with a coffee machine. Like it has to feel like a different space, because otherwise it's just a bar.
Well, no, if you put tablecloths on and
they can be whipped off
they can be done really easily. I'm sure we can negotiate with housekeeping to get them washed every so often. We could even just nick them from the cupboard, just at the top of this, coming out the Undie up the stairs. There's that cupboard there with loads of cloths in.
I reckon maybe we invest in buying them as opposed to stealing them from
not stealing them. We work with them.
Oh, okay.
Because it'd be quite nice to get like personalised ones, like with the college crest on.
Get one special
fantastic.
Ones.
I did try and look. I tried to follow this up. I couldn't find any cardinal. I'm sure.
If you get bespoke ones, could be fun.
Yeah, you will be able to do that.
The main issue is one, Durham Estates, because for the TV, trying to get the TV in that should have been done in like a couple of weeks. Dragged on for 7 weeks.
Now it's not looking like it's going to go until summer term now.
Because it's so difficult getting all the permission because it's World Heritage Sites, and that's one issue. And the second issue is where it would go. But I think apart from that, it's a brilliant idea personally.
And just as well, the point of this scheme is we're not going to try and cut corners budget-wise. We're going to do something and want it done to a top level, really well done, so that it lasts and benefits future.
The idea is to benefit the bar as well. It's not just change it.
Well, it's a business case, isn't it? And it should make money, so we should recoup the investment eventually.
Hopefully.
Brilliant. Do you have any other questions?
I don't think so. No, I think it's fine.
Just what sort of timescale were you envisaging?
To put this in?
Yeah,
I thought
when
what you said about that's something that occurred to me. It would be best to trial it in summer term and try and just iron out all the problems there, and then introduce it. And then you could spend the summer, if you were doing things like putting pictures on or whatever. You spend the summer doing that, and then it'd be open for Freshers Week, and that's when it would be the thing. And I suppose, you'd have to work out who the staff were all over the summer as well. So you'd have to have a good idea of who was doing it for September. For October, sorry. And then hit it hard on Freshers Week, and hopefully the momentum will carry it forward, and it would, hopefully it wouldn't fizzle. Hopefully really good. That'd be the idea.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Off you go.
Okay, so essentially, my proposal is to convert the snooker room by the laundry into, a more fully fledged Bailey Court common room / a place where people can wait in a nice place while they're doing their laundry. And the first thing is Bailey Court doesn't have really any sort of common area. Moatside has their kitchens. Owen Gate has its common room. Even North Bailey has that kind of open space in the middle. But Bailey Court's a very antisocial area. The second thing is, especially now that the dryer cycles are shortened, a lot of people would like just a place to read a book or to do something in between while waiting for their laundry. So essentially, that's the big idea. How you want to do it is really quite flexible. I mean, the simplest thing you could do is to hire a locksmith to change the lock so that you don't have to go to the porter to get the key every single time, because I think that's a big deterrent for a lot of people to using the snooker room. So if you just change it to match the existing outdoor keys, that would encourage a lot of use, because I essentially, when I go to do my laundry, I only see the same 5 people in it. So it could still be a snooker room. That's the basement. I don't know how well that would work with college policy. I don't know the exact rules for that. But a lot of people would also like a social area, and that's where you could get creative. I mean, the thing I heard most when I kind of did some informal polling with people who lived in Bailey Court was a television, a small television area, or a table. In my tentative budget thing, I've kind of outlined the most common ideas. I have a couple copies that people had in approximately what they would cost. I looked at furniture above the low end IKEA type range and the slightly nicer John Lewis type range. I did include a lot of things that were more subjective that only some people wanted, and I ignored some of the ludicrous ideas like the repeated demand for a zoo. But so the thing is, depending on what people want, because if this did get chosen, go through, I definitely want to do a lot more extensive research into what people actually think the needs are. But tentatively, you could do it for between 800 and 6,000 pounds. I also apologize for the lack of the pound sign on there repeatedly. I have an American computer and I didn't want to bother with special characters. So that's the big thing, and I think it can be a lasting project. I think is one of the good things. It's not just something that's going to help for a couple of years. It'll provide a common communal space. And I mean, the more I think about it, the more I like the idea of communal space, because for me, one of the best parts about being at university, especially in here, is the community and being with people, and I think we should facilitate socialization and community as much as we can, because I think that's going to enrich everyone's university experience. Yeah.
Just quickly to clarify, do you envisage these changes taking place around the snooker table, or would you advocate removing the snooker table?
Generally, when I've asked people, they seem to be in favor of renewal of the snooker table, and the what happens to the snooker table is going to be probably the biggest challenge, because it's quite large and it's quite expensive, and I don't really know where to put it. And I definitely realize that this is going to be a challenge, and I know there's people who would advocate for its its place to maintain. I mean, ideally, if there's a place we could put it that would make it quite closer to the west courtyard. I don't know if there's space in the JCR in the back, but because then the people who see the pool table in the west courtyard being used can go to the snooker table as a second backup. That was what I was thinking. But I do, when looking at all this, I did realize that was one of the biggest challenges I was gonna.
Because I'm not sure if you were, the snooker room was built as a sort of memorial.
Yeah, I was informed of that last night.
Mm-hmm. So moving the snooker table, it may well be an option.
Mm-hmm.
However, it would probably involve, because I imagine that snooker table was built in that room.
Yeah.
Because there's no way in and out, so it would be sort of a destruction of it.
But
Yeah.
it was his table.
Yeah.
So it must have gone into the room.
Oh, was it
somehow.
his?
Yeah,
Okay.
like they don't.
Well, no, they've disassembled it.
Yeah.
take it down.
So
I mean,
must be
I
a way of
definitely-
getting it out,
Okay.
and it would benefit from being somewhere else because the room's not quite big enough for it anyway.
And the reason for the locks, I think, is so it doesn't get damaged, so
Yeah.
people are accountable.
Yeah.
I think that's the reason why you have to go sign the key out at the minute, similar
Yeah.
to the gym and other things in college.
I mean, there's probably you could rearrange the snooker table and put it slightly, shift it slightly, and then you could make at least the chairs that are there more inviting in a way. But I feel it gets almost no use as it is. Essentially, like I went in there once to see what it was during Freshers Week, and then I see the same people using it. And you know, I feel like there's people who would like to play snooker who don't because of the key issue, because we're all fundamentally quite lazy. But I feel like there's a lot of more people who would really just like a space to chill and relax instead of kind of like cramming into really court rooms or in the kind of sad corridors.
The JCR at the minute, the room, the JCR, has a load of money being spent on it, and it's got loads of facilities which are incredible and still doesn't get used that much. So what makes you think this would be successful, where like even more so than the JCR, because it wouldn't have the same facilities as the JCR. So what makes you think that would be successful then when the JCR isn't that well used?
I think one of the big things for this is it's going to be its location. It's going to be next to the laundry, so it's going to be really near a place that people want to wait, and it's going to be closer to accommodation. A lot of people don't really want to walk all the way up to Castle to you know, just kind of chill. They want a place that's close, a place that's accessible, and I think this, you know, the location next to the laundry would make that a lot more feasible for a lot of people.
Okay.
If so, the snooker table, I think people would obviously want that to stay. If it stayed, and I think it'd be quite feasible to keep it there and then put in some of the changes. So get a TV in there, get the sofas in there, etc. So people can chill out in there. How do you think we can prevent it becoming somewhere? So like Only Gate Kitchen, where people just use it as a pre-drink venue, because that could cause damage to the table or the room. In that, do you think there's any, I don't know, way with that to stop that happening, or?
I mean, it's gonna definitely be difficult to do that, because people will ultimately, you know, subvert that. I think the best prevention against that is kind of to, you know, play up the historic nature of it, and kind of, if you do leave the snooker table in there, as well as that would be the best one. I mean, it is very challenging, because I know that's a problem that's happened, and like things have gotten broken in outside that I've seen, and I know that was why the lock, I think, was in there in the first place. But I think, you know, we have a bar in the college, and I think even while drunk, a lot of people still respect the location. So I think if you leave the snooker table in there and play up some of the history, as well as, you know, adding a couch and making it more inviting, I think that would make people respect it.
Okay. Had you thought, so leaving the snooker table in there, have you any idea how much you'd be looking to spend to refurbish it? Is that still along the same lines?
You know, I'd scale it down and take out the dining table and dining chairs. But, you know, I think it could be, and I don't think you need, like, as much stuff, but I definitely could see, if you still put a sofa in there, that's about, you know, we'll say averaging around £800. If you put a television in there, that can, I'd see it in between £1,000 and £3,000 then, I think. And I mean, certainly you can always take, if you always go with like a cheaper sofa, a cheaper television, you can always make it more inviting with like a few throw pillows or something.
One thing that we said to the previous applicant, the scheme isn't about, we're not trying to do stuff on a budget. We've got the money there, so we're happy to spend it if it's going to produce like a really usable facility that's going to last for several years. So Don't worry too much about picking the budget
Okay.
options.
I'm just by nature a very frugal person, so I do that automatically, which but I also think it's important that with this much money, if you can enable more projects, I don't want to overshadow any other great ideas that other people have. If you can do multiple things.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions?
Not really. I don't think.
What's been the general response from your peers about when you've mentioned it?
It's been really, really positive. Like, they've kind of, they've all said, "Oh, that's a great idea." I mean, I did it initially because everyone was complaining all the time, and I know Dom Humphrey, he got mold in his room and didn't come back to Bailey Court because he was just like, I don't want to. It's just not social, and yeah. And so, but I've told people and they've seemed really engaged and excited. So.
Okay. That sounds really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.